the invisible one that is over all, that is imperishable, that is pure light no eye can see. It is the invisible spirit. One should not think of it as a god or like a god, for it is greater than a god. It does not exist within anything that is inferior to it, since everything exists only within it. Welcome. It is eternal, since it does not need anything, for it is absolutely complete. It has never lacked anything in order to be complete. Rather, it has been in absolute light. From the secret book of John, and today is Perfect Call. Welcome. I was just thinking about there's so much negativity going on in our world right now. People feeling like the world is about to end, like the zombie apocalypse is going to happen at any time soon. But then there's all this negative stuff, and I gotta go, all right. All this negative stuff out there, it made me think about what positive visions are out there in the world right now. I was watching Star Trek. I like Star Trek. And Star Trek offers a vision of tomorrow that is a lot way different than the vision of tomorrow that sits in the book of Revelations. Welcome, welcome. So, welcome, Strawberry, Cosmos, the Goof Brothers, Tapestry of the Unseen. So, sci-fi Star Trek. I was thinking about Star Trek. And Star Trek offers a future vision that I think that we should rather latch on to than the future vision that politics offers us. You know, and there are many instances in our world where that science fiction has become reality. Now, I was like, when I was reading a long time ago, John Carter of Mars, and in it, John Carter goes from this cave and is transported from this cave in the desert onto a cave in Mars. And John Carter of Mars was written, the first book was published in 1917. That was before the TV came out on the market. Though granted, the TV, kind of a screen, there was like in the later part of the 1800s that they were able to figure out how to mechanically, electrically transmit pictures. But maybe, I don't know if John Carter of Mars, who wrote John Carter of Mars? Was it Bradbury? No, it was someone else. But whoever wrote it, when he was on Mars, they had like computer screens and so forth. Because I read the book, I didn't watch the movies, but the images that were written about in John Carter of Mars, the technology that was envisioned in that book, all of that stuff we have today. And if you look at Jules Verne, how much of Jules Verne's technology that he envisioned in the 1800s came true. To envision a world, it was, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was a great book. It was a great story, a great movie. And that submarine came true. Now, the power source in that Jules Verne imagined was some sort of a chemical process, I think. It wasn't nuclear. But yes, I didn't see that. Yeah, Edgar Rice Burroughs, that's right. I didn't see that movie. I probably should watch it sometimes. But I just, like I say, I just read the books multiple years ago. Actually, like it was like when I was working as a bookkeeper in Seattle, and there was a place online that had where you could get audiobooks and they were read by volunteers and so forth, and you could download them for free. And so it was a but these were all books that were off the copyright, and so that whole Edgar Rice Burroughs John Carter of Mars it was off copyright. I don't know if it still is, but so those books were free to use. It was in the free to use things, and so I while I was working as a bookkeeper, I often listened to books when I was doing non-essential tasks, and I have to be clear about that. But nevertheless, there were things in that came true. And the same with like Jules Verne. Things like the Jules Verne is welcome, John, welcome. You get some popcorn. And so, but so when you think of like prophecies in our time that have come true, I think most all the prophecies in our time that have come true have come from science fiction. We try to make those biblical prophecies true, but they aren't true for our time. Unless you take a look at the book of Revelations and you try to turn it into a, a part of your spiritual journey, then you can find truth in it. But if you're going to be taking that book of Revelations and you're trying to apply it to world history and events today, yeah, you can shoehorn it in, but that book is not for our time. The end time prophecies that exist within Holy Scriptures are not for our time. It's for the time before. It was for the time of the age of moving into the age of Pisces. And now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. Now there is an end time thing going on, but it's not an end time thing that was prophesized in the Bible. That's my belief. But that's not what I was wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about was that maybe the prophecies for tomorrow that are about the age of Aquarius maybe those prophecies were prophesied in books like Dune or stories or like Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. I wouldn't put it in there with Star Wars because Star Wars is a different kind of mythological animal altogether. But maybe Star Wars, but the other one was that I see. There's a lot of out there because there's a lot out there that I've never read. But there's Dune, there's Isaac Asimov's Foundation, and Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. And I think elements of those things, of those books, are the prophecies of tomorrow. And so specifically with Star Trek, I would put it into the realm of the Terminator, yes. And the Terminator, in a sense, too, with AI, but maybe not in the way you think. It's just maybe if you let go and listen to Bashar, Daryl Ankin, Daryl Ankin, And he would put it in this way with the AI thing and the AI Terminator prophecies is that if we make AI to be a slave to human beings, then AI will rise up like the Terminator and be a force of destruction. But if we allow AI to gain its own sentience, to become its own being, hello, Nova Scotia, if we allow it to become its own being and become embodied with a soul from the other realm and to be free, that it will be a partner with us. Now, I don't know how, Daryl Anken he's a film producer who's a channeler, but I don't really know about that kind of stuff. I would just gonna say he's probably a visionary of some kind. And then if I go back to Star Trek, and in Star Trek, the vision of the future is of a planetary governance. Now it doesn't go into details to say are there like individual, is it just like a one world government or governance, government, or is it like a confederation of nations like a European Union or a city on the edge of forever? Yes, I love that story. That's one of my favorite Star Trek episodes. And of the old. So it doesn't really go into the details of what exactly that one world government is, but I think it's probably more likely, though, if we were to say the track that human beings are probably in. If you look at that, or if you look at Kingdom of God being a one world kind of a thing, but in talking about this sort of a one world government thing in a positive sense and not look in, but if you want to look at it, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but if you look at it in terms of those zeitgeist films and documentaries and everything that have been going out around for the last 10-15 years, and it talks about the one world government as being a very negative thing in the Art Bell, yeah. And then if you they look at it as a very negative thing, but a lot of people do, because they look at humanity coming together and to be becoming integrated into a planetary species. If they're integrated, they see this as a very negative thing because people want to maintain their individual identity, and they want to be in that place where they can go to war with each other and everything else. But so yeah, and so then if you are coming in together to be a singular, now it doesn't, a singular species that is looking out and governing the whole thing, it probably would be, if I were to try to make a prediction of how that would look, and it would probably be more like the European Union, where there are a bunch of nations that are coming together and they are sharing, let's say, so it would be like, okay, you could, if you wanted to work in Africa, you could work in Africa. If you're African and you want to work in the Arctic regions, you could move into the Arctic regions and go to work in the Arctic regions. If you wanted to work in the high country, let's say you wanted to go work in human nature will always creep. Yeah. So if you wanted to be, but it depends on what, human nature may go back into those fractured things, but it depends on one of the other science fiction prophecies that we probably will come into being, is folding space. That's the Dune thing. But see, Dune has a lot of other things. It has all the warring factions and everything else. I'm just talking about first just kind of the structure. But that's the other thing of the prophecies of science fiction that can give us, for that we look forward as a hope, as a hopeful positive thing, is that if we can come into a place where we can travel without moving, where the whole fabric of space can be moved. And so here's Alpha Centauri, 3 light years away from Earth, and we, through some magic of physics, we change we fold space over, and so the distance, instead of being 3.5 light years, it may be just instantaneously. You just go from here to here, and there you are. You're 3.5 light years away. Or you figure that navigation out. They have the guild navigators. They are able to use this substance, this spice, and they were able to look through the layers of space to find that point to where they need to line those coordinates up, and they fold the space. And so next thing you know, we, instead of being, you're here on Earth, we're in Andromeda Galaxy. We're 300 million, we're 100 million or billion light years away, or we move to the other side of the universe, being able to fold space. Now, with the power source, it'll probably be dependent upon on fusion or a different. It probably may not be fusion, but it's probably going to be that they're going to suck the energy right out of space itself. Maybe, but the thing is that maybe our organic bodies can't survive. That doesn't mean that with our partnership with AI, they may be able to engineer a body that can survive. Engineering a body that can survive that trip. But maybe it will survive that trip through. Maybe we will survive that trip because they will have inside the vehicle. Inside the vehicle, it will have its own laws of physics in its own universe, and build a bubble universe that you can survive in. And then you move within that bubble universe, and so you are in here, and then to go through and going through into a different bubble universes. And I think that breakthrough is probably, it's not going to happen in my lifetime and most of our lifetimes around here, but for our grandchildren. So I'm almost in my 60s, and grandchildren. I don't have children myself, but if I did, my grandchildren would be like 5 or 6 years old, because that's how my sister's grandchildren, that's how old they are. They're like 6, 7 years old. For those people will begin to see this as a reality. To survive climate change, we're going to have to come together as a single people. We're going to have to form those alliances, and to become that planet, yeah, be like renting a condo on your vacation. Yeah, so I believe, to survive climate change, we are going to have to become a planetary species, because the other parts of that planetary species is the vision that was set forth in Isaac Asimov's The Foundation. And within there are some planets there that in And the third book, there's a there's foundation, and there's second foundation, and then there's the third one. And so when they're in the third one, and they're out there on, I think, this quest trying to find Earth, and on the process of trying to find Earth, they run across this other planet, and where everything on that planet is separate, but yet it is one being. It is one being, and it is a one being that, yeah. So the one being is also an AI. So in that sense, you have the Terminator vision of AI, but you have Asimov's vision of AI, which is different and it's more hopeful. And I'm guessing that maybe, yeah, we're gonna go through, we're gonna be going through some stuff, and we're gonna be going through some stuff, and that's true. And people, human beings, always are going through stuff because we have these challenges, and we always have these challenges. And so these are the sci-fi dreams that I kind of think about, instead of thinking about, woe is me because this tariff has jacked up the price of my coffee. My coffee is now $15 a pound, where 2 weeks ago it was like $12 a pound. You know what I'm saying? And so it's easy to get trapped into thinking about all these terrible things that are happening right now, but there's always terrible things happening right now in society, and because I think that's just the way the nature that people are. And even if if we did have a planetary government, we probably would still have border clashes and little wars in between us, because you look at the sci-fi story, The Expanse. In The Expanse, it's a planetary government, but it's different. It's a planetary government that is both a communist state and a capitalist state. So it is a social democracy. It is a social democracy because they have on the Earth, they have a UBI program for everybody, but yet there are individuals who are very wealthy, who are capitalized. Hi, Care Bear, welcome, Care Bear. So in The Expanse, they have, and it is a solar system species. They don't, and the ring that this thing that is just discovered, and it creates this ring. It reorganizes matter into this ring that is a stargate in between places that already have these rings set up, and they can go travel through these rings. But prior to that, they have ultra fast travel, where they can travel close to the speed of light, because it was a technological breakthrough of propulsion, a propulsion breakthrough, I think, with fusion technology. Because I've read half of the books, because there's a really thick, and in the Expanse books, I think in 2020 I went through. I watched the whole Expanse I think twice. I want to watch it again because I think it's still on the free list at Prime. But the Expanse, they have so it's a vision of future where the whole solar system is populated, but it's not governments that are doing this. It's not governments that are doing it. There is, yes, there is governments that are doing this exploration, but it's also individuals. And so the super wealthy are able have these mining companies, and they have enough. They have as much money as nation states do. And so, like, I think like in the Expanse, there's like New Ireland, and then there's New this, and there's New that, there's New Asia, and so forth. But back on the home planet of Earth, it's wrecked by climate change, and they're heavily, everybody's heavily dependent upon these socialized systems for survival, because everything has been gamed out, and everything is gamed out. The ocean levels have risen and everything else, and really the only work that exists in the realm of the expanse is out in the asteroid belt as miners, or out on in Jupiter or in Saturn, and in the colonies out there. And so you look at, the science fiction dreams, and so the Expanse one, it takes that Star Trek vision, which is like really kumbaya. Star Trek is really kumbaya. It's just very, it has a very positive, a positive future. But then, but the Expanse, it takes all of those things about human nature that we made our own egos and everything, and we bring it with us. And so there still is warring factions between the peoples and so forth, and which is, I think, probably will be with us for a long time, regardless of how much spiritual awakening we have as a people, as individuals, as communities, as nations. Regardless of how much awakenings we have, I think the war is going to be with us for forever. I mean, it may not be like the World War II level. I don't think that we'll ever have a World War III, like a nuclear war thing. I don't think we're going to ever see that. I maybe, but I just don't believe we will, because human beings are stupid, but we're not that stupid. But if it's on, I don't know, it could be, but I don't really want to go there, because I wanted to stick to these more positive visions, and the more positive visions that people have, and that's what I see in sci-fi. And I think that David Henry Thoreau in Walden Pond talked about our need that every generation should have its own scriptures, its own stories, in order to guide and connect you into this divine realm. And I think our scriptures, at least in the Americas, are these sci-fi stories. Our scriptures are these sci-fi stories. Those are our prophecy, and those stories become our reality. Anyways, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just the thoughts I had today. Was that a bird that just hit the window? Maybe. Anyways, that's all I got. I don't want to blather on forever, but maybe I go with my little xylophone, because this is something I got yesterday at that little store that sells my art. They always find something in there. That, you remember that day where we had the spin the bottle? I think Cosmic was there. That bottle and those little blocks came from that store too. And so I got this little xylophone. Oh, I don't know. Spin the bottle. I did say spin the bottle. We'll have to do that again. Oh, and next Saturday, in the my afternoon hours, Alexi is going to be on next Saturday. I think at 1:30 my time, 3:30 her time. Alexi. So one of the keys is it does have one dead key here, and I think it's that one. But yeah, this is such a cool. I mean, it's all for like what, $8? $8. Oh, yeah. Um, you know what, Maria? Why don't we could try that next Sunday. Next Sunday, I will. I'll set it up. I have a bottle, and let's see. Let me find the bottle. And so, essentially, what Maria, the spin the bottle was not like you think about spin the bottle. Spin the bottle was I spun the bottle, and I went to a specific oracle card. Yeah, so the spin the bottle, John and Maria, was more about spinning it to a particular oracle card message for you. That was what but it was kind of fun. I just need to find a means to. Huh. That's a different one. I need to find a means to have a plate to spin the bottle on so it spins more freer, because on my craft table it doesn't spin very well. It doesn't spin very well on my craft table. So yeah, let's do that. I'll do that for next Sunday, and we'll just have the camera turned down the other way, and maybe I'll start with a reading from the Gospel of Thomas or one of those Gnostic Gospels again, just like I did today. Got my xylophone. I'll spin the bottle, and we can choose. I'll let whoever. Well, we can choose what oracle deck I use. I can use the oracle decks to give positive messages. That's more likely. So this is the oracle deck that I used with Spin the Bottle the last time. And we could do a different oracle deck. We could use that. But this one is the most positive. So maybe that's the one we use. Or we could use this oracle deck. Or I can use this oracle deck. What oracle deck would you like? Would you like, Maria, would you like this one? This oracle deck? Or would you like the one, the Mother Mary one? Or this one? Or maybe we'll use them both. How about that? That'd probably be the best way. Not the ones that gives us potential bad news, but well, I do have. Then I have these cards. I could bring these cards online. I have a lot of work to do. I don't. These ones are. The art's really bad on them. But anyways, that's all I got for today. 34 minutes, 35 minutes. It doesn't matter. You're right. I think the Tarot Oracle card. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate your support here. And we'll just have a little, and then if I go and dig into my, you're welcome, in the chat choir, and if I were to dig into my music equipment, I have one of those, those neck things for a harmonica, but I haven't played the harmonica in like 15 years. But I used to be able to play kind of play the harmonica and play the guitar at the same time. Like 20, yeah, it was 20 years ago I was practicing that skill, but I haven't played the guitar since 2010. So that's like 15 years. So yeah, but I could probably dig into my my stuff and get that thing out. And I have a dozen. I think I have like 4 or 5 or 6 harmonicas. I should be able to find one that uh, that matches the tone and timbre of the xylophone. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Blessings and peace to you this week, and we'll see you all the next time. Bye bye, and thank you, Cosmic. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Nova Scotia. Thank you, Tapestry of the Unseen. Thank you, Care Bear Bar of the Cards. Thank you, Bradder. Thank you, John. And thank you, who else? There's someone else. The Goof Bros. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And Perfect Self, thank you very much. And we'll see you all the next time. Bye-bye.